Hi there, y'all. This is going to be a special episode of Millennial Meals. This will be an unboxing video of Meet Your Maker meat grinder, a 500-watt meat grinder. We're going to unbox it, show its contents, and grind some meat. All right, y'all. So this is going to be the beginning of opening the box. So when you're opening boxes, just be careful. Make sure you cut away from yourself. And I am wondering how cool this toy is. And also make sure you cut properly so you don't have like these weird little splay marks. Right, so we got a box within a box. Hello. All right. So I guess that box is kind of used for safety purposes, so then your original gets, so like the contents doesn't get too smashed up. So I wasn't expecting 2 boxes within one. But I guess it's almost kind of like one of those nesting eggs. All right. So pretty simple. We got our instruction manual right here. Need some stuff for the Meet Your grinder. And let's see if we can't rip this out. And I should say, make sure you have a lot of surface area, because obviously this one takes up a little bit. Alright. Alright, so here we go. We got our... That was a little loud. Alright guys, so basically what these are your meat grinding plates. So this is going to be what's going to be processing our meat, so then it actually kind of comes out in a more usable way, so then it's not like just one solid chunk of meat. It's going to be more ground up. Here's our actual machine, you know, where all the power is basically at. This thing right here is basically your plunger thing. So instead of you putting your fingers inside the thing, trying to push the meat in to make it kind of squeeze out, you use something that doesn't feed your fingers in the meat, because remember, we want to make sausages or patties with the meat we're buying, not with our own body. This little pan right here is what we actually put our meat in. So then, you know, whatever kind of meat you're buying, so it could be like beef, pork, or something, this is where we're going to put it in. And kind of like I was saying earlier, you know, we have our little plunger right here, and then we can push the meat inside. Remember, don't use our fingers, because we want to make sure we have all of our digits, so we're not cutting them off. What I should say is that these are your sausage stuffers. So basically it will help. So like basically the meat's going to go in and it's going to be coming out, you know, in a more uniform and smaller form, so it makes it easier for us to make sausages if that's what you want to do. But what we're going to do first is we're going to wash this, because any type of equipment that you get, you need to wash it before you use it, because you don't know how well it was cleaned or what kind of process it went through before it got to your house. And plus we want to make sure that our meat doesn't get contaminated by the machine parts. And also, it's also kind of like a good insurance for us, because we know that everything will be nice and clean before the meat that we buy and then that we're going to prepare to make a delicious meal is ready to go and is clean and is not contaminated. So in the next little break, or after this little break, you're going to see a nicely assembled meat grinder, and we're going to grind some pork. So when you get your Meet Your Maker grinder, here's the items that should be in your package. A 4.5mm grinding plate, a stuffing plate, a 10mm grinding plate, an auger, head locking knob, front ring nut, cutting knife, the head, or where a lot of the parts go into, the tray, or as I like to call it, the meat funnel basically, a stomper and stomper cover, and then for the funnels that actually kind of case our sausages, a 30mm funnel, a 20mm funnel, and then lastly, a 10mm funnel. Alright, so now that everything is washed, now we want to assemble our grinder. So one of the first things we want to do is we want to put on the head, this head piece right here, onto our grinder. Now if you notice, there's a little divot right here that's cut into the metal. So we're going to put that in here, like so. And the reason why I want to have this end point out like this is because this knob goes into that divot. So now this thing ain't going to fly around. Next, what we want to do is we want to put in our auger. Now make sure this little nut end goes inside like this, because there's a female piece on the inside that will catch onto it. Now this is our cutting knife, and what we want to make sure is that this faces outward towards this little grinding plate. So we're going to put that on here in the little square piece. Now we have our grinding plate, which is 10mm. Now if you notice, there's a little notch that's cut out. So what we want to do is we want to line that notch with this corresponding piece, this little bump right here. like so. So it's on there right there. Now we got our front ring nut last, so we're gonna screw that on. Oops. So we're gonna screw that on like so. So now that's on. Now, last but not least, we want to put our tray or hopper on, or as I like to call it, the meat funnel. So we're gonna put that on, and now it's clean and it's ready to grind. So right after this, we're gonna start grinding some meat. So see you right after this. Hi there, y'all. Now we are fully assembled. We got our meat cut up, our pork shoulder, Boston butt, or pork butt. Now we are cutting it, well, we had it cut up in 1-inch slices because it's gonna make it a lot easier to go down in the funnel. So what we wanna do is we wanna try and mix it up. So a little bit of meaty bits and others are a little bit more fatty because we kind of want it to be a little bit more even. So it's kind of hard to see it. You probably can't see it in the camera, but there's this little arrow or this little notch on this little knob. What we want to do is we want to turn that all the way down to grind. Now, what I should mention is that you don't want to keep the grind or any of the other functions on for very long if you're not cutting up some meat, because that could be bad for the machine. But with all that said, we are ready to grind up some meat. Alright, so what we have just ground up is about 5 pounds of pork shoulder, and we got a lot more to go. But to give you an idea, this is, you saw what those little pieces looked like, and now this is what they look like after all ground up. Next, what I'm going to show you is we're just going to be solid minutes of just grinding meat. And then after, I'm going to tell you some things about the other pieces that make it easier when it comes to storage. Other than that, that'll be up right next. Alright, so next what we're going to do is all that nice coarse meat that we have, now we're going to do it one more time, but now this time we're going to use a finer grind. So this one's going to be a lot more tighter. So now we're going to start grinding. So we just got done grinding over 40 pounds of pork shoulder. I gotta say, this meat grinder has actually done a pretty good job. So when it comes to grinding your sausage or your pork shoulder, beef or whatever, you can do a lot of different things with it. So for me, for instance, I just had this about 5-ounce patty, and it's like Italian sausage, like as far as the seasoning is concerned. And so I'll put that recipe up here. So then you can get an idea of like if you want to try it. So what I should say is it's a 2-pound recipe for the seasoning. But one thing I wanted to show you guys, at least something I like personally. So when you get done with this Meat Your Maker 500-watt meat grinder, there's something I kind of like as far as the stomper is concerned. So these other pieces that you can use for sausage, well, you can kind of store them together, put them in your stomper, and put 2 of those little discs or little cutting blades, and bam, you're ready to go. But that is one fun thing I just want to show you guys as far as like storage is concerned. But other than that, this was the first Millennial Meals unboxing video, the Meat Your Maker Grinder 500-watt meat grinder. See you guys next time.